Have you ever wondered, what if the wisest Jedi of all time succumbed to the darkness of the Force? What if Yoda becomes the very thing that he feared? What if Yoda were to become a Sith? Hold on tight, my fellow younglings and Padawans, and grab a cup of my famous Bantha brew, because this is what if Yoda had turned to the dark side. In the sprawling expanse of a galaxy torn asunder by the ceaseless conflict known as the Clone Wars, heroes and villains emerged from the shadows of turmoil, each playing their part in the intricate dance of fate and destiny. Amidst this chaos, one figure stood as a beacon of wisdom and strength, a symbol of light struggled to pierce the encroaching darkness. This was Yoda, the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, whose very name evokes reverence and hope across countless star systems. As the Clone Wars rage on, painting the galaxy with the brushstrokes of sorrow and despair, Master Yoda seeks solace and guidance in the ancient mystical world of Dagobah. It is here, among the primordial mists and towering gnarl trees, that Yoda is confronted with a harrowing vision, a foresight of the doom that awaited the Galactic Republic and the Jedi. This was no ordinary premonition, but it was a vivid, terrifying projection of Order 66, a clandestine decree that would see the Jedi betrayed by their own clone troopers, turning allies into assassins and marking the beginning of the end for the Jedi Order. The vision was a maelstrom of chaos and betrayal. Yoda watched helpless as one by one his friends and fellow Jedi are cut down, their lightsabers extinguished by the very soldiers that they had led into battle. The halls of the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, once a sanctuary of peace and learning, are transformed into a slaughterhouse, echoing the cries of the fallen and the innocent. The heart of the Republic, the Senate, became a puppet theater with Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, in reality the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, pulling the strings, orchestrating the demise of democracy with sinister glee. Haunted and shaken to his core by this vision, Yoda faces a crucible. The path laid out by the Force Priestess, whose ancient specters of the Force had guided him to Dagobah, was one of understanding and acceptance, to confront the coming darkness with the light of the Jedi teachings. Yet, the visceral horror of what he had experienced, the annihilation of everything that he had sworn to protect, ignited a spark of desperation within him. In a moment that would alter the fate of the galaxy, Yoda veers from the path of the light, driven by a singular, consuming obsession to stop Palpatine at all costs. The decision was antithetical to everything that Yoda had believed or taught. It's a decision born not of wisdom, but of fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of the fate of the galaxy. And so, Yoda turns his back on the guidance from the Force Priestesses, embarking on this dark, perilous journey. Convinced that the conventional ways of the Jedi would be insufficient to confront and defeat Palpatine, Yoda makes the unprecedented decision to explore the forbidden knowledge of the dark side. In the hidden corners of the galaxy, places where the dark side swirled with malevolent energy, Yoda sought the power to protect the galaxy from its greatest threat. This journey was a descent, not just to the shadowy realms of space, but into the depths of his own soul, where the line between good and evil was blurred. Months passed, and a new Yoda emerged from the shadows, his essence irrevocably altered. Armed with dark powers that he had once vowed to oppose, Yoda returns to Coruscant, a ghost moving unseen through the heart of the Republic that he had once served with unwavering fidelity. His mission was clear: to confront and destroy Palpatine, and to use the darkness to fight the darkness. But in seeking to protect the galaxy from tyranny, Yoda exposed himself to the very corruption that he sought to eradicate. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of the galaxy, a battle not just for the soul of the Republic, but for the soul of Yoda himself. The stage for the ultimate confrontation was set in the heart of the Republic, within the opulent chambers of the Chancellor's office on Coruscant. It was here, amidst the trappings of power and the shadows of impending doom, that Yoda chose to face Darth Sidious, the dark architect of the galaxy's downfall. Yoda, now a vessel of both the light and the dark, moves with purpose that was alien to his former self. His arrival is a silent storm, his presence cloaked by the very dark arts that he had once eschewed. Palpatine, ensconced in his seat of power, is unaware of this imminent threat, his attention fixed on the final moves of his grand plan. The galaxy teeters on the brink, and in that moment, the fate of countless lives hinged on the outcome of this clandestine duel. As Yoda steps from the shadows, the air in the chamber thickens, charged with the palpable tension of two formidable powers colliding. Palpatine's eyes widen in surprise, and then narrow in malicious delight. "Master Yoda," he cooed, his voice dripping with feigned warmth. "To what do I owe this unexpected pleasure?" Yoda's response was a silence that spoke volumes, his gaze locked onto Palpatine's with an intensity that could sear through the soul. Then, without a word, Yoda ignites his lightsaber, its blade now a crimson hue, a stark symbol of his fall from grace. The air crackles with energy, a prelude to the storm that was about to erupt. Palpatine rose, his own saber materializing in his hand, its blade casting a sinister glow. With a snarl of anticipation, he launches himself at Yoda, and the Dark Lord of the Sith embraces the battle that he had long foreseen. But this was not the Yoda that he had expected to face. This Yoda moved with unprecedented ferocity and strength, fueled by the dark side energies that he had absorbed. The duel is a tempest, a whirlwind of flashing blades and crackling power. Yoda, channeling his inner turmoil, his grief, his rage at the vision of the Jedi's annihilation, fought with a desperation that is both terrifying and tragic. Palpatine, for all his dark side mastery, found himself on the defensive, taken aback at the intensity of Yoda's assault. They clash across the chamber, their sabers a blur of light and shadow, each strike a thunderclap, each parrying a lightning flash. Yoda, driven by the dark side's promise of victory, pushes Palpatine with relentless aggression. The dark side flows through him, amplifying his power, but at a cost. With each moment, Yoda feels himself slipping further away from the Jedi Master that he once was, becoming something new, something darker. The turning point came as Yoda, tapping into the rawest depths of his anger and fear, unleashes a barrage of Force lightning, a technique that he had once abhorred. Palpatine, caught off guard, falters under the onslaught, his defenses crumbling. Yoda presses his advantage, his saber a whirlwind of death. In the final moments, as the two titans of the Force lock sabers with a clash that seems to freeze time itself, Yoda found a small prick in Palpatine's armor. With a surge of dark side power, he drives his saber through Palpatine's defenses, bringing the duel to a sudden, brutal end. Sidious falls, his schemes for galactic domination extinguished along with his life. But as Yoda stands over his vanquished foe, his victory feels hollow. The chamber, a witness to the end of an era, echoes with the silence of 1,000 screams. Yoda had defeated Palpatine, but the very cost was etched into his being. He had traversed the abyss of the dark side, and in doing so, he had lost himself. The galaxy had been saved, but at what cost? Yoda's eyes, once a wellspring of wisdom and compassion, now glinted with darkness that mirrored the void within. In the aftermath, Yoda, now a vessel of darkness, sees a new vision for the galaxy. With Palpatine gone, he perceived the Jedi and their teachings to be the next obstacle to his rule. Determined to forge a new order from the ashes of the old, Yoda returns to the Jedi Temple, a storm of dark energy swirling within him. The Jedi High Council, imbued with centuries of wisdom and the guardianship of peace, gathers within the hallowed halls of the Jedi Temple. A message from Yoda, their venerable Grand Master, long absent on a mysterious quest, had kindled a mix of hope and unease. They await, anxious for the enlightenment of his disappearance, and hopeful for his guidance once more amidst the turmoils of war. As the chamber's doors whisper open, a figure emerges, not with the serene aura of wisdom that they had known, but shrouded in an ominous veil of darkness. It was Yoda, transformed, his presence a harbinger of dread. The air thickens, charged with a foreboding silence that preceded the storm. Without a word, Yoda's silhouette becomes a conduit of dark fury. His lightsaber, an unnatural crimson, ignites with a hiss, slicing through the tranquility of the chamber and marking the onset of betrayal. The council, taken aback by his shocking visage, barely has time to react. Yoda moves with speed and ferocity, his blade a blur of destruction. Each strike was as betrayal, each a parry of shattering ideals. The Jedi Masters, embodiments of light and peace, were felled one after the other, their lightsabers extinguished by the very ally that they had fought alongside for quite literally centuries. The chamber, a sanctum of wisdom and strategy, became a tableau of chaos and despair as Yoda, now an agent of the darkness, cut through the ranks of his former brethren. Amidst the carnage, Mace Windu rose, embodying the resolve and strength of the Order. The duel that unfolded was epic, a cataclysmic clash between the light of the Jedi and the shadow that had ensnared Master Yoda. Windu, his purple blade a beacon in the darkened chamber, fights with a desperation to reach the Yoda that he knew, to pull him back from the brink. Their sabers clash in a tempest of light, casting eerie shadows that dance across the chambers like specters of doom. The battle rages, a symphony of clashing blades and crackling energy, until Yoda, tapping into the dark depths of his newfound power, unleashes a devastating onslaught. Windu's defenses, though formidable, begin to falter under the relentless fury. With a final harrowing strike, Yoda pierces through Windu's guard, the blow not just a physical wound, but a wound in the very fabric of the Jedi Order. Windu falls, his blade extinguished as he collapses, a silent testament to the cataclysm that had befallen the Guardians of Peace. In the aftermath, an oppressive silence envelops the chamber, broken only by the hum of Yoda's crimson blade. The Jedi Temple, once a beacon of hope across the galaxy, is now a mausoleum of its former defenders. Yoda stands alone, surrounded by the fallen, his heart as dark as the void that had claimed him. The Council's anticipation had turned to horror, their hope extinguished by the master that they had once revered. In this moment, the galaxy's fate takes a dark turn, and the repercussions of which would echo through the ages. Following the grim confrontation within the Jedi Council chamber, the silence that reigns is a somber herald to further catastrophe. The Jedi Temple, a towering edifice that had stood for millennia as a symbol of light, wisdom, and guardianship, was about to become a stage for an even more tragic act. Yoda, enveloped in the shadows of his own making, contemplates the destruction that he had wrought. The once Grand Master, now a figure of dark ambition, saw the temple not as a home to be cherished, but a bastion of the old order that he believed must be eradicated. With the council decimated and his transformation into a Sith Lord complete, Yoda turns his malevolent gaze towards the temple itself. The structure, with its vast archives, serene meditation chambers, and bustling classrooms, had been a sanctuary for generations of the Jedi. Now, it stood as a testament to a bygone era, an era that Yoda easily claimed to erase utterly. Harnessing the full breadth of his dark powers, Yoda initiates a cataclysmic sequence. Standing in the heart of the temple, he begins to channel the dark side of the Force in a display of power that's both awe-inspiring and absolutely horrifying. The air vibrates with energy, charged with impending doom. Then, a surge of dark force, Yoda unleashes his fury upon the temple. The ground trembles as if agony under the onslaught of dark energy had overtaken it. Walls that had stood for ages cracked and crumbled. Majestic pillars that had supported the weight of history shatter like glass. The temple's once proud spires, reaching towards the heavens in a silent testament to the Jedi's aspirations, begin to topple and fall, sending plumes of dust and debris into the Coruscant sky. Inside, confusion and panic spread rapidly, as the destruction does as well. Jedi, Padawans, and younglings alike scramble for safety amidst the chaos, their cries echoing through the collapsing corridors. The temple's archives, containing millennia of knowledge and wisdom, are consumed by an inferno that spares nothing. Meditation chambers, once places of peace and introspection, become death traps as the ceiling caves in, burying the secrets of the Force beneath tons and tons of rubble. As the temple crumbles around him, Yoda stands in its heart, an unmoved orchestrator of destruction. With a protective bubble of dark-side Force energy shielding him, he watches dispassionately as the symbol of the Jedi Order is reduced to ruins. The destruction is complete, and the temple is now a mausoleum for the ideals it had once espoused, as well as those who had not escaped its fall. In the aftermath, as the dust settles and the echoes of the collapse fade, the Jedi Temple lays in ruins, a smoldering crater marking where it once stood. The galaxy reels at the news of the temple's destruction, mourning the loss of life and the end of an era. Yoda, having orchestrated this devastation, turns his attention outward, his dark ambitions far from being satisfied. The destruction of the temple was but the first act in his vision for a new order, one that would be born from the ashes of old, with him as the undisputed ruler. This act of unspeakable violence against the Jedi and their symbol of their order sent ripples across the galaxy. It's a declaration that the old ways were over, forcibly erased by the very being who had once been their fiercest protector. The galaxy's fate had indeed taken a dark turn, the repercussions of which would forever alter the course of history. With the Jedi Order shattered, Yoda turns his gaze towards the Senate itself. Declaring himself the new ruler of the Republic, he swiftly quells any opposition, using the clone army to execute those who dare defy him. The galaxy reels in shock as the Republic, a beacon of democracy, falls under the shadow of Yoda's tyranny. In the shadowed aftermath of Yoda's darkness, the galaxy finds itself ensnared in a web of fear and tyranny. Yet, amidst the pervasive despair, a glimmer of defiance begins to shimmer through the gloom. Anakin Skywalker, miraculously evading the dark fate, had ensnared his fellow Jedi, emerged as a pivotal figure in this burgeoning resistance. With the remnants of the Order scattered and broken, Anakin embarks on his own bold endeavor to unite Jedi survivors, kindling a flame of rebellion against the darkness that had consumed their mentor. Recognizing the enormity of his task, Anakin seeks an alliance to be formed from the direst of necessities. General Grievous, a formidable adversary turned unlikely ally, joins forces with Anakin, binding the fate of the Jedi with the droid armies. Together they devise a strategy not only to confront Yoda, now a Sith Lord of terrifying power, but to ensnare him in a trap that would leverage his newfound arrogance against him. The chosen battleground for this audacious plan is Geonosis, a planet etched with the scars of past conflicts, now poised to host a confrontation of historic magnitude. As the day of reckoning approaches, the arid expanse of Geonosis is transformed into a theater of war. Anakin and Grievous, leading a coalition of Jedi survivors and droid contingents, prepare their forces for the imminent clash. Tension crackles in the air, a palpable anticipation of the battle that would soon erupt. This was not merely a military engagement. It was a gambit of the highest stakes, a bid to turn the tide against the darkness that threatened to engulf the galaxy. When Yoda arrives, drawn to Geonosis by the promise of quelling the rebellion once and for all, he finds a battlefield bristling with readiness of his adversaries. The initial moments of the conflict are marked by a flurry of lightsaber clashes and blaster fire, a maelstrom of violence that bellied the strategy of precision into a trap which Yoda had stepped. Despite the overwhelming force that arrayed against him, Yoda's command of the dark side is a spectacle of terrifying potency. He moves through the ranks of his enemies with relentless fury, his powers amplified by the dark side to levels that seemed insurmountable. Yet, as the battle rages, Anakin and Grievous watch for the moment to spring their final, desperate attack. The plan was one of tragic necessity, a choice made in the shadow of an unthinkable alternative. With the signal given, the skies above Geonosis ignite, a fleet of ships unleashing a barrage of firepower that transforms night into day. The bombardment is merciless, a rain of destruction that scorches the earth and shatters hopes of a quick victory. This was the climax of their gambit, the pivotal moment on which the fate of the galaxy hinged. Anakin, his heart heavy with the weight of command, watches as the world around him is consumed by a never-ending fire. The decision to call down this bombardment, though agonizing, was driven by the knowledge that Yoda's reign must be ended, whatever the cost. Lives, countless and precious, are lost in the inferno, a sacrifice made in the hopes of a brighter future. As the dust settles and a haunting silence falls over Geonosis, the survivors are left to contemplate the cost of their victory. Anakin, standing amid the ruins, was confronted with the profound consequences of his actions. The galaxy had been saved from the darkness that Yoda had become, but the path to rebuilding, to healing the scars left behind by the conflict, remained fraught with uncertainty. The battle on Geonosis would be remembered not just for its outcome, but also for the reminder that it served the delicate balance between the light and the dark, and the sacrifices required to maintain it. The galaxy is forever changed, the Republic is fractured, the Jedi scattered, and peace a distant memory. Yoda's fall from grace, a legend whispered into the corners of the galaxy, serves as a grim reminder of the dark side's seductive power, and the price of said power left unchecked. Hey there everyone, thanks for watching today's video. While it is a little bit of a darker ending, I'm glad that you guys stuck around and enjoyed, and I hope that you'll come back for more. Before we go, I just wanted to leave on a little bit of a personal note here. The arc in which Yoda goes and faces his dark demons in the Clone Wars at the end of Season 6. It was always one of my favorite arcs, at least before the Siege of Mandalore came out. It was a good reminder of the corruption of power, and it always scared me watching it as a kid, but honestly, I loved it, and I thought it was fantastic. It was incredibly well done, and it was very, very grim, something that I appreciated in the Clone Wars whenever it went that direction. Honestly, I find that the grimmer and darker episodes of the Clone Wars are often my favorite. This arc was absolutely no exception, and this was a fun reminder of what could have happened if Yoda had turned to the dark side, just like his vision had thought he might. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a tangent for me. Let me know your favorite Clone Wars arcs down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed watching this video, I would recommend going back and watching one of our other videos, which will be linked at the end of the video here. Let us know what you thought of this Yoda turning to the dark side video in the comments. Would you like to see part 2? And if you do, please comment your possible endings down below. Have an incredible Banthatacular day, everyone, and as always, I hope that you've gotten your daily delicious dose of Bantha Stew.